Good morning and welcome to virtual Sunday worship with us at First Parish in Framingham. I'm the Reverend Aaron Stockel, Senior Minister, and it is my honor and joy to serve this congregation. And I am so glad that you are here this morning. Please do say hello in the chat if you haven't already. Our faith tradition, Unitarian Universalism, is a faith for all souls. It doesn't matter your skin color, your age, where you came from, who you love, or how you move around in the world. It doesn't matter if you watch our services on your laptop, desktop, tablet, smartphone, or smart TV. It doesn't matter if you're using Roku, an iOS device, Windows, or Linux. What matters, dear one, is that you are here watching this service, a part of this community. It matters that you affirm and promote the worth and dignity of all. Wherever you are on life's journey, you are welcome in this virtual but very real community. If this is your first time visiting us this morning, I am so glad that you are here with us. There's a link right below this video where you can fill out a form so we can make sure that you get the information you need. Or you can email Sarah Morrison-Neal, our membership coordinator and office administrator, at office@uuframingham.org. Please reach out if you need anything. And reach out if you have strength or skills to offer too. We are all in this together, and we will help each other through. If you are watching this live, immediately following the service will be our Zoom coffee hour. Everyone is encouraged to join us. It would be so good to see your faces. Love has held our congregation together since 1701. It is a love larger than any walls or any screen. So welcome to First Parish in Framingham.
Emmanuel shall come within us.
The words for our call to worship are from the Reverend Dr. Hope Johnson. Hope Johnson was a congregational life consultant with our Unitarian Universalist Association. She provided deep and powerful ministry to our Black, Indigenous, and Unitarian Universalists of color. Hope died on November 28th, 2020. We honor her memory and her ministry by reading her prayer, One Love, as our call to worship today. She writes, "We are one, a diverse group of profoundly kindred spirits, here not by coincidence, but because we choose to journey together. We are active and proactive. We care deeply. We live our love as best we can. We are one, working, eating, laughing, playing, singing, storytelling, sharing, and rejoicing, getting to know each other, taking risks, opening up, questioning, seeking, searching, trying to understand, struggling, making mistakes, paying attention, asking questions, listening, living our answers, learning to love our neighbors, learning to love ourselves, apologizing and forgiving with humility, and being forgiven through grace, creating the beloved community together. We are one." During this time of physical distancing, it is important that we have rituals that we do together, even while apart. When we do these rituals at the same time, it is as if we are together, because we are. The kindling of the flaming chalice is a Unitarian Universalist practice. So I invite you to light a candle or perform some other ritual as I light the chalice in our sanctuary, and as the children of our congregation light the chalice. Once it is lit, I invite you to type into the chat box, "The chalice is lit in our home," or "The chalice is lit in my home."
From all that dwell below the skies, let songs of hope and faith arise. Let peace, goodwill on earth be sung, through every land, by every tongue.
Love is the doctrine of our church, the quest of truth is its sacrament, and service is its prayer. To dwell together in peace, to seek knowledge and freedom, to serve all life with compassion, to the end that all souls shall grow into harmony with the divine. This is our great covenant, one with another and with our God.
Friends, today I will be sharing the time for all ages. This is called Beautiful Oops by Barney Salzberg. Beautiful oops is just the beginning. Every spill has lots. Bent paper is something to celebrate. A scrap of paper, oh, and there's a cutout here. A scrap of paper is and can be fun to play with if you're a dog or anything else. A smudge and a smear can make magic appear. A stain, okay, and we're gonna flip this up. A stain has potential if you play with its shape. Oh, they made the coffee stain into something that a frog might be on. Oh, they made the hole right there into the frog. That's pretty cool. That's a good way to think about it. Holes in your paper are worth exploring. Whoa. C? Can you see? It says C right in there. That's awesome. Cool. When you think you have made a mistake, is there anything? No, okay, there isn't anything there. Oops. Think of it as an opportunity to make something. Cool. Oh, that was a really neat book. Thanks, Rebecca, for suggesting that. Oopses can be beautiful. We don't have to do things perfectly because in those moments where things aren't right, there is beauty. I wonder, in your life, when you make a mistake, what do you think when you make the mistake? Do you get frustrated? Or do you try to find the beauty in that? Now is the time in our service that we set aside for sharing the things which weigh deepest on our hearts. Those are the joys and the sorrows. We do this because we know that a joy shared is joy expanded, and a sorrow shared can be a sorrow or a burden that is lifted, that others can carry. There'll be prompts on the screen to give a little bit more order to our sharing. In this virtual space, privacy cannot be guaranteed. So if there's something really tender that you want to let me know about, please feel free to send me an email or reach out and we can chat.
There is a love holding me. There is a love holding all that I love. There is a love holding all. I rest in this love. I rest in this love. There is a love holding us. There is a love holding all that we love. There is a love holding all. We rest in this love. We is a love holding us. There is a love holding all that we love. There is a love holding all. I rest in this love. We rest in this love.
Let us now enter into our time for contemplation, meditation, and prayer. O God, weaver of the world, spirit of life, gracious mystery beyond all names, but who calls each one of us beloved. We are the fibers of this fabric called the world. We've gotten a little loose. We, the threads, have gone in all directions, and now we are thankful to be gathered in this virtual space. We are thankful for all that creates this community. We have become frayed on the edges. May we be reminded to slow down, to appreciate the little things in life. Remind us, gently please, that we are not perfect, and that is just fine. We know that there are those who are waiting for hope, waiting for a day when suffering will cease, waiting for a day when systems of oppression will be dismantled and the arc of the universe will bend towards justice. We will be with all to witness the miracles, small and large. Weaver of the universe, we do need a bit of mending. We ask for peace in all of the war-torn parts of our world. We ask for health and comfort for those who are ill and healing. We ask for safety for all those frontline workers who are in the trenches with this new surge of the coronavirus. We'll be with all those who are dancing with addiction, all who find themselves unemployed, underemployed, or homeless. We ask for gentleness and relief for the parents out there who are juggling jobs with supporting their children's online education, especially as local schools move to online education rapidly this week. We ask for strength to face each coming day and night, for we know that we cannot do this alone. May all that is holy hear our prayers. May it be so, and amen. Friends, now is the time in our service that we consider what gifts might we give to our congregation. this congregation, which for the moment exists virtually, depends deeply on your generosity. Even if we're not passing plates around, it depends on your generosity. It's tough to remember this because we don't have that physical object. But that generosity is so crucial. There are directions on the next screen about how to give to our congregation. The morning offering will now be joyfully given and gratefully received. One of the benefits of this time of virtual gathering is that we can share videos easily. The president of our denomination, the Reverend Dr. Susan Frederick Gray, released this holiday video message on Thursday evening. We share it with you now in the hopes that you might feel connected with the 1,000 other Unitarian Universalist congregations in the United States.
Greetings, Unitarian Universalists. For so many reasons, this holiday season is different than any in memory. Dearly held traditions that bring us joy are pared down, virtual, or canceled altogether. Many of us are tired and grieving. We have lost too many loved ones this year: elders, mentors, family, friends. This is true in our personal lives, it is true in our congregations, and it is true for our faith as a whole. And grief always weighs heavier in the holidays, especially in a year such as this. One of the things that is keeping me grounded these days is remembering to stay in the present rather than dwelling on what cannot be. I welcome grief, yes. I welcome the emotions present in my heart and in my life, yes. And I stay present and open to what is before me today. The gift of sky, of sun, of earth, of stars, of life, of friends and loved ones. It is a challenge to shift my perspective away from what is missing. But when I do, when I'm able to stay in the present and let go of longing for what has been in the past, I find that there is a powerful yes waiting in this moment. A yes in a year full of negation and despair, an affirmation that the world is calling forth from us in this great season of turning, in this season of generosity and goodwill and peace. There is a yes. May we in this season, unlike any before, invite gratitude for the gifts that have emerged and continue to be present this year. We witness what can happen when people help one another and prioritize community over the self. We have become connected in ways new and different, ways that have allowed more people to connect to community and ministry. And at a time that has presented profound challenges, our communities have grown strong in both spirit and in faith. Instead of focusing on what cannot be, may we create new practices of gratitude and meaning that reflect the generosity, the humanity, and the compassion that are needed in our world today, and that are needed to foster more love and more justice for the future. And may all of you, each of you, may we all find time to slow down this season and set aside the pressure and hecticness that is so often a part of the holidays. That has never been particularly helpful. So this year, when so much has been asked of us again and again, we all need and deserve rest. May you have rest this season. As I sit in the beautiful darkness of this season, I am reminded that life is nurtured in darkness, that seeds take root in the darkness of the soil, that babies are formed in the dark of the womb. The world is asking something new of us, and something new can be born from this time. And as we light candles, like we always do in this season, in ritual and celebration, let us embrace the mystery and the possibility of this very special time. In this season, I send you my love, my prayers, my care, and so many, many blessings to each and every one of you.
The poet Louise Erditch has a lovely poem called Advice to Myself that I'll share for the premiere of the service on Sunday morning and will remove for subsequent viewers for copyright reasons, but do be sure to look it up. Advice to Myself. There's a tradition in my family of origin, and I think some of yours as well. I know because I asked on Facebook and some of you responded, yes, that is the tradition in my family. The tradition that I'm talking about is if you're decorating a Christmas tree, and once all of the ornaments are up and the lights are strung and hung, and you turn the lights on for the first time and you step back and you marvel at the tree and you say, it's the most beautiful tree we've ever had. And you say this when the tree is tall or small, scraggly or well trimmed. I think it's a little way of embracing a little imperfection. Now, I don't know if you have seen the Rockefeller Center 2020 Christmas tree. I'll try to put a picture of it up right there. There it is. As you can see, this is not the most beautiful, well-trimmed tree of years past, but it feels like the perfect mascot for this year. Now, I don't know what other trees in the city or town of Framingham have looked like in previous years, but my morning walk usually takes me by Nevins Hall or in the memorial building, and I can't help but think that maybe that 30-foot tall tree is a little bit more scraggly than normal. We are in the season of the year where in any normal year we'd be hustling and bustling, worrying about making sure that things are perfect for the holidays. Now maybe this is one of those times where the sermon is more the one that the minister needs to hear, but I think a lot of folks need to hear a sermon on our blessed imperfections, perhaps especially now. Perhaps now, as many in our city and neighboring towns are suddenly juggling online learning once again. Perhaps as others know that their bank accounts won't be as full. Perhaps as others struggle to pay rent or keep the lights on. Perhaps this is a sermon for you as we struggle with isolation. We have been imperfect. We are imperfect, and we will be imperfect. And that can be beautiful. But how do we come to terms with it? As a faith tradition, we affirm and promote the inherent worth and dignity of all. We might be really good about extending grace to others, but what about our own inherent worth and dignity? Do you believe that you yourself have inherent worth? Do you believe that you are worthy of love? You are, dear one, imperfections and all, broken and beautiful. I think about the Japanese art of ceramic repair, kintsugi, which means golden joinery, in which pottery is repaired with lacquer that is mixed with a powdered gold or silver or platinum. Somehow something that was beautiful, now in its brokenness, becomes even more beautiful. I remember too that Japanese concept, which I think kintsugi comes from, wabi-sabi. It is a sort of aesthetic that brings about a sense of melancholy, yeah, but it acknowledges that there can be imperfections. Richard Powell explains that it nurtures all that is authentic by acknowledging three simple realities. Nothing lasts, nothing is finished, and nothing is perfect. And that brings me to my next example of imperfection, which is banjos. Now, say what you will about banjos, but I enjoy them every now and then. A banjo is imperfect. There is a particular style called the claw hammer. Now, while I have dabbled in guitar playing since I was 15 or so and can play the standard 3 chords on the mandolin and the ukulele, I don't know much about the banjo. But one of my closest seminary classmates and now colleagues, the Reverend Joe Cleveland, is a banjo player. and he described the imperfection of the banjo in this way. Joe tells a story about playing some Unitarian Universalist hymns on the banjo with a group of guitar players. And after attempting a hymn and not quite succeeding, Joe later dreams about playing the melody and not being able to play one note. Now, as I said, we're talking about clawhammer banjo, which Joe describes as this. Your right hand is kind of made into a claw shape. I don't even know if that's the right claw, but claw shape. So as you hammer away at the strings, it's kind of a neat way because it emphasizes that the banjo is basically a drum with strings. Joe writes that playing clawhammer style, you are often actually drumming on the head of the banjo and hitting the strings because they're in the way. Now, that style really has its limits. He writes, there are some rhythms that you just can't get, and it is hard to get some of the notes. Now, there are tricks you can use. For example, there's a way to pluck out the notes with your left hand while your right hand can't get to. But he still couldn't figure out a way to sound that one note in the melody of the hymn. Joe says that eventually I stopped beating up myself about it and just said, well, I'm just going to play a different note. I'm not playing the chords the way they were written out anyway, after all. Now, kintsugi is a kind of mending, but when we think of mending, we normally think of repairing clothes. My colleague, the Reverend Laura Everett, who's a United Church of Christ pastor and the executive director of the Massachusetts Council of Churches, has written about this particular orientation of mending, which has existed for centuries as a way of repairing clothing. In a world before mass production, we had to embrace and repair what we had. She writes that there is a new trend towards visible mending, where instead of seeking to make the repairs blend in, they do them in bright colors. Reverend Everett writes, unlike earlier eras, modern mending is not trying to make the repair invisible, but instead embracing the beauty of visible mending with contrasting colors or patterns. Visible mending gives me a language and image for honest repair instead of pretending that all is well. I suppose that I then disagree with Louise Erdich in her poem Advice to Myself when she writes that we should throw out the cracked bowl, don't patch the cup or patch anything, don't mend, buy safety pins, don't even sew on a button. Now, being okay with your imperfections doesn't mean let yourself go or let yourself off the hook or wallow in your brokenness. This does not mean be broken and stay that way. On the contrary, it means work on your brokenness. Let the scars show. Mending banjo and kintsugi require skill. They require diligence. They require extra care and attention. It takes work to appreciate our imperfections, to think that our scars can be beautiful. Even in the brokenness, there can be beauty. It requires patience. Repair can be a slow process. Though these don't seem like spiritual topics, they are. Reverend Everett expands on this, writing, mending is a practice that my Jewish friends name as tikkun olam, or repair of the world. We have the choice to destroy or to become co-participants in repair. I choose repair in a world that is beautiful and broken. Choose to repair. I think, too, about the holy chaos that is usually the church Christmas pageant. I've never seen a well-rehearsed one, but I'm sure they're a sight to behold. Never seen one go exactly right, which is why I have suggested a paper bag and no rehearsal pageant in the congregations I've served. That seems a little bit more authentic. The event that it reenacts wasn't perfect anyway. Travel usually doesn't go right. Mistakes are made. Childbirth is messy. The story taking place in a manger seems messy as well. We're in this season of Advent, which is kind of like the tractor beam that brings us towards Christmas. We have to explore, how do we, perhaps as Unitarian Universalists in the year 2020, encounter the story of Jesus, his birth, his death, and his ministry. So this is where we need to signal and get off the imperfection highway and instead talk about Jesus. 'Tis the season after all. The poet Stephen Dunn writes, Jesus had been a good man, and putting faith in good men was what we had to do to stay this side of cynicism, that other sadness. I wonder then, can we approach Jesus with a more imaginative approach? What is the lesson behind the words that imperfectly describe the ministry of Jesus? What do we think they have to say to us in these modern days? Now, Ralph Waldo Emerson, in his famous Divinity School address, said that Jesus belonged to the race of the prophets. He saw with open mind the mystery of the soul, drawn by its severe harmony, ravished with its beauty. He lived in it and had his being there. Often, I think, in my experience, the Unitarian Universalist reaction, or maybe allergy to Jesus, is our reaction to Jesus the Christ. The Jesus that is in the Nicene Creed or the Apostles' Creed of our childhood. Creeds, yes, which sustain the religious life of billions of people, but what we remember we react to most strongly. Catherine Keller, in her book on the mystery, talks about what she calls the creedal omission. Keller writes, the familiar Apostles' Creed had us believe in Jesus Christ, his only Son, our Lord, who was conceived by the Holy Spirit and born of the Virgin Mary, who suffered under Pontius Pilate, was crucified, died and buried, descended to hell. On the third day he was raised from the dead. What's missing from this picture? Isn't something missing, Keller asks, like life? The creed emphasizes all supernatural origins and then cuts right from his birth to his death and resurrection. Our Unitarian foreparents also noted the creedal omission, and further had trouble with the miracles that Jesus performed, but rather they focused on his ministry. Why is Jesus important? It is such a sacred story. I share these words from the Reverend Aaron White, not our Aaron White, the Aaron White at the First Unitarian Church of Dallas, Texas, from a few years ago. Reverend White writes, Jesus is born to an unwed teenage woman of color. She, the child, and her husband cross national borders without documentation because they are fleeing violence in their home country. Then the child grows up to be a homeless teacher who leads a radical movement of people that refuses the boundaries of creed, class, or role in society. And he travels around giving us a version of free health care to anyone who asks and feeds the poor without judgment. He preaches a love that is so radical and an allegiance to relationship over power so compelling that it becomes illegal. Reverend White continues on, the most powerful military force in the world deems him a threat. He is then tortured and executed by the state. Modern day equivalent of an innocent death row inmate. That story, that is why we must hear the story of Jesus, because it speaks to us in this moment. Now, I don't know, friends gathered here in this virtual space, what imperfection you are wrestling with today. But I hope, and it takes a little while to get here, I hope that you can find beauty in your imperfection, because you just as you are more than enough. May it be so, and amen. I close with these words of benediction. If here you have found freedom, take it with you into the world. If you have found comfort, go and share it with others. If you have dreamed dreams, help one another that they may come true. If you have known love, give some back to a bruised and hurting world. Go in peace.
I invite you to extinguish the flames you have lit in your homes as we extinguish the flame of our chalice. As the flame goes out, let the smoke waft through the air for just a moment. I invite you to also type into the chat box, I carry the flame.